Welcome back to Bonded by Bravo. My name's Amy, and I'm joined with my co-host, Dom Jen. What's up, Dom Jen?
What's up? It's election day.
It's election day, and while we don't usually get political here on the podcast, I just wanted to say one little thing.
Okay. I'm sweating.
So no. So my cute, adorable husband that I don't talk about a ton, but that's not true. Came to the US 7 years ago for me. 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And became a US citizen 3.5 years ago. And today was his first time voting in a US presidential election, and I got to be a part of that. And I'm getting a little emotional, but I just am so proud of him, and I just needed to shout that out.
I love that. I think that's wonderful. Are you crying?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay,
I'm trying not to. I'm trying to swallow it really hard.
We have a different Amy this week, guys.
Oh, God. No, it was such a crazy, like, it was such an interesting morning. Like, just to be a part of something that some people take advantage or just take for granted, not advantage, take for granted. And he was so excited, and talk about somebody who like has done his research, and just, you're just going to the polls this morning was just so invigorating in a sense of like seeing people there. And like, when I was casting my ballot, there were dads and moms on the way to work with their kids at the polling station, submitting with them. And I just thought that was so powerful, like showing your kids early on how important it is. And I took a walk at lunch, and this was insane. I watched this woman with her nurse's aide. This woman had to be in her 90s, and she had her walker. And she was asking, there's a billion different schools around me. So I walked by one of the polling sites, and it was just so cute. Again, had to be 90 years old, was asking the attendant at the polling station how she could get in with her walker. Like, where was the way that there was a ramp that she could get in. And she had her polling card out on her walker seat. And it just really, I just thought like this woman is out here at 90 something. And I hope that I still have the wherewithal to do that and understand the importance. So
yeah, absolutely.
Get out and vote, folks.
Get out and vote. Well, should we get into some lighter stuff? Like
sure.
Okay, actually,
I just looked at your grievance of the week.
I know.
Did we wait on that?
I don't know. I feel like I don't want to alienate anyone, but this actually, no, I don't care. Okay. My grievance of the week, because I've been thinking about it since it happened, and this was in Philly last week.
Okay.
And I walked by like the Planned Parenthood, like right in Center City, kind of like near the neighborhood.
Oh, don't tell me. That was my place. It's where we all got our first pack of birth control in our high school uniforms.
I walked by, and there were just 4 white men, all over the age of 70. I would say, actually, that's being nice. I would say maybe even closer to 80.
Oh.
Like protesting abortion. And I just wish I would have, like, I said something to them. I can't really remember, but I've been, when you have those shower thoughts, like I should have said that. I really just wish I was like, looked them dead in the eye and said, "You're a loser. You're a loser." I feel like that would have hit. And I don't know what I said, but I think I just kind of looked at them and was like,
grumbled.
Do literally anything else. Like, this does not affect you in any way, shape, or form.
And hopefully,
I was so mad.
I'm say what I was just gonna say.
But that's my grievance of the week. Old white men, leave us alone. Leave us alone. Yeah. If you are pro like that is your choice, but let us have our choice as well.
Yeah. And
We're
not going to make it a political podcast.
No. Okay. Sorry. Today's just, I'm like, my stomach is just in knots today. Let's get into
I think
Bravo.
we all are. Yeah. And we like to keep it light.
Yeah.
We just are. So this weekend was the New York City Marathon, which
looks so fun.
It's so much fun. I tried to explain it to someone. I think this is because my friend said it's like an all-day block party. And I was like,
that's what Kyle was like. Kyle was watching videos and he was like, I want to do this next year. I want to go.
Do you know what it's like? And when my friend said that, I was like, oh my God, now I can tell people what you would compare it to. Because I was in Philly Saturday night for a benefit, met your cousin.
Yeah. Was that your first time meeting her?
Yeah. No. Okay. We've met at other things, but it was our first time like
hanging.
And we hung. I didn't know she was from Burhome, which shout out to Burhome, Northeast Philly, which is like a very small pocket neighborhood in Northeast Philly.
Like, I don't even know if I know where that is.
No, it's the neighborhoods like below Fox Chase. But anyhow, we're like, she's from my neighborhood but she's your age. So we she was telling me all of her older friends, siblings, brothers and sisters that maybe I know, but like immediately hit it off. But so I'm there Saturday night. I catch a 9:30 train back because I'm like, I'm not missing marathon day.
Yeah.
Like, you don't miss marathon day. And I get back, and of course it's like crazy town because it's international. People come from all over the world. And right out on my corner on First Ave, it's just full party.
This is so fun. Is it like,
and it was like
Mummers Day parade?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna it's like the Mummers Day parade. It's packed,
which is like the most fun.
And so I get out by like noon and you just start drinking and you're having your best life. And it's funny because this happens to you in SF. It doesn't happen in Philly, obviously, but I had my Eagles hat on because the game was playing. So everyone's like, go Birds. And you're like, go Birds, and like the whole thing. But yeah, it was
Although there are quite a few Birds fans out here, I gotta say.
Yeah.
And we keep multiplying. I feel like each year we're getting bigger and bigger.
And it's weird. And it's maybe because I don't wear, I don't know when I don't usually wear a hat.
Yeah.
But I have like Eagles sweatshirts, but for some reason, whenever I wear the hat, or maybe it's just like the community of what the day was, that everybody was just in such a good mood. And then you start seeing the runners. And I mean, the bars are packed. I went into this one bar, it was 2:30 and they were playing like Alesso club music.
Oh, wow.
They were so much fun.
Oh, all that money to be made. Sounds nice.
So much money to be made.
Yeah.
So like, I just think, it was great. It's my favorite day of the year. Yeah,
Love
for
that.
sure. If you ever want to come up to New York, for a day, that's like, it's such a good day. Anyway,
we didn't get to talk last week, but I saw Mary.
Oh my God. How did we? Yes.
It was hysterical. Like, it was what I
Mary,
thought it
the
was
play
be.
on Broadway by Cola School that me and Jen have been talking about for months. If you haven't already seen it, it's extended through, I believe, the end of January. Okay.
And it's only 80 minutes. I don't know why I have to keep saying that, but I think just 80 minutes is just,
I think it's
not
70.
taking up so much of your time, which is like, just really wonderful. So you get all of your time that you need in New York, and then an hour and, a little sliver of your day is spent there.
Perfection. And the whole time you're laughing so much that you're like, oh,
yeah.
It was so good.
Hysterical. It was exactly what I thought. It was, I mean, I was like truly belly laughing. The entire theater was. It was really, really great. So just wanted to kind of say that.
I can't wait to see how many Tonys he's going to get nominated for.
And what I mean when I say like it was what I thought it was going to be, I did think he was going to make it maybe because I saw him on Watch What Happens Live. But I knew that it was going to sort of be Mary Todd Lincoln as like a parody housewife.
See, I did not know that part.
Yes. And so for all the Bravo girlies and gays, like it's really, really good.
But even that is such you still can't picture that until you see what's happening.
Totally.
I mean,
I would
what
say
he
like
pulls
the
off,
closest thing I can think is like Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
Yeah, like Mary Cosby.
Yes, totally.
Yeah,
totally.
He's such a character, and the energy that's all I kept thinking is like, from an actor's point of view, the energy that he brings twice a day. Most of the times
crazy.
he performs that. I mean, his energy was wild.
Yeah, wild.
It was so high energy.
Good. It was so good.
Did Eden love it?
Yes, we both loved it. It's funny, we had all this time in New York and like frankly too much time, and still ended up like late for the play, like running in. Then we were like, oh my God, we have so much time to kill before our train home. Then had to run to the train. Like, you know, when you have too much time and then you start crunching up against it.
Oh, I do.
But yeah.
That's the best way to spend in New York though.
Yeah.
That means you just get into it.
I think because we were just there too, and it's like we were on our last leg of energy. So we were originally supposed to go up early in the morning, and we were like, no, we're not going to do that. Like, whatever. Those tickets are a waste. We'll just take the bus.
I can't believe after taking the train back to Philly this week, I couldn't believe that you took the bus and it was
so easy.
Oh, you didn't get sick?
No,
I almost got sick on the train.
I like knocked out within like 2 minutes.
Okay.
I slept like the whole ride up. I ate an edible right before we got on the train, and I think it just took me out.
That's good though.
Yeah.
I took the train, and I have to say though, even though I was a little like getting car sick, there's no better way to travel than a train. It's just so delightful.
Yeah, definitely beats a flight. I'll tell you what.
It does. It was so nice. And from New York to
Philly, it was brutal, man.
It was 90 minutes. Not even. It was so quick and so easy.
I will say, like, even our bus was like right under, I think, 2 hours. Or like right at 2 hours. Yeah. We didn't hit any traffic or anything.
Where did it drop you off? Chinatown or
Port Authority? Yeah. It was fine though. We didn't even like come outside really until we were like.
Oh, you just went to the.
Yeah.
Oh, good. You went right under the subway. Oh, good.
Yeah.
So you happened to. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you think of? So there's this other pop culture thing that we were talking about Broadway Cola Scola, and there's some. I don't know if you know about the Broadway buzz that's been going on about Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster.
Yeah, who is Sutton Foster though?
So Sutton Foster was on a TV show called Younger with Hilary Duff. But
okay, I was gonna say she's like a baby.
No.
Okay, was she the mom or something? Because I'm thinking
was the one. Yeah, she's the mom.
Okay, I was thinking there's another something Foster who was on like Freeform. And she was on some show that was with Lucy Hale from like Pretty Little Liars. Okay, so this I feel better about it.
No. She's like late 40s, maybe even early 50s.
Damn, and he was with his wife for so long.
So the chatter on the street, Sutton Foster in Broadway world is like Broadway icon. She was on Broadway for a long time, then got a TV show, then went back to Broadway. And she was in The Music Man with Hugh Jackman from, I believe, 2021 to 2023. And now it's coming out that Dumois in December 2023 even got a blind that said that was right after Hugh Jackman announced his divorce from his wife of 20 some years, where there's a big age gap there. I think it's like 15 years. I guess that's not that big of an age gap. It's only because it's a guy that we even notice it.
Yeah. He's younger.
He's younger. Yeah. So apparently his wife knew, like, there's a cheating scandal is what I'm trying to say. That him and Sutton, that there was always like closed dressing rooms during shows. And this has been going on for a while. And they're they want to have their relationship out in public now, which is why she just announced her divorce from her husband of 10 plus years. But they're also saying that apparently the Broadway world's a little messy.
I bet it is. You're spending so much time. It's like, it feels insular in a lot of ways. Yeah. You're hanging at the same places. You're seeing the same people. You're working with a lot of the same people. Like,
and
it's like the restaurant industry.
Yeah. And like, it was funny. Like, if you have to kiss someone in something that you're not attracted to, I think it's fine. But if there's a little bit of attraction there or sexual tension, I cannot see how that does not go somewhere. Like, you see where all these on-set things
happen.
So, yeah, that's some gossip.
Yeah,
Is
that
it?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Broadway.
Broadway.
Yeah.
It's messy.
All right. Well, should we get into some of our shows?
Yeah, but are we going to talk about Teddy getting her divorce from her husband?
Are we?
Well, there's another big cheating scandal going on there.
Oh, the way I don't care about Teddy Mellencamp.
Oh. Well, in case anybody does, there's a big cheating scandal. Sure. Apparently, allegedly, her husband liked to pay for things.
Didn't he already this already happened though years ago though too, right? Like they had already almost broken up because he had cheated on her.
Allegedly.
But didn't she say it on her podcast?
Oh, did she?
I don't know if it's allegedly, if she kind of
Oh, did she say it? I didn't know that.
Pretty sure.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know about if she was referring to this time. I think she was talking about before because they had issues in the past where they almost didn't make it, but they were able to like work through it. But probably not entirely. I think if you get cheated on, you're going to hold a little bit of that in, that resentment for years.
You not? Yeah.
Yeah. How could you not? Especially if they start acting a certain way that maybe reminds you of the time that he did cheat on you, and then you start spiraling, and then all of a sudden you're the crazy one.
If your significant other cheated, this is like a question that me and my friends talk about all the time. If your significant other cheated one time and there were no feelings or anything involved, would you want to know?
No.
I wouldn't either.
Like, keep it moving.
I know.
It's if no one, there's no feelings involved. Like, for
I know.
What? Like,
it sounds
it feels like what? It just, I don't know. We're all human, and I think that we have to. This does
not mean for anyone that might be listening to go out and cheat. I'm just saying, I think when you're in longer term relationships, I think there's different conversations you would have. Yeah. Like there's like, you're like, is it worth it to blow up my entire life?
I was going to say, are we going to blow up my entire life because of something that doesn't matter? That seems really not ideal.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't seem ideal. They said that it was going to happen. Apparently that was another blind that was coming down the pike. So
anywho. I don't need to know.
Okay.
It's a good question though.
It is.
What did most of your friends say?
The same.
The same.
Especially like friends with kids, which seems, I feel like, as if you would ask me this question 10 years ago, I would have been like, hell yeah, you tell me, I'll cut all your genitalia off. Yeah. Everybody, you know, like I would have had such a different opinion. But I think once you get older or
are in those long-term relationships where like you like, do decide some days you're making the choice to stay in the relationship. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, ebbs and flows.
Always. And there's always going to be ebbs and flows. And like, if you're going to be with somebody for 40, 30, like I thought about it.
It's not going to be like smooth
rainbows and butterflies.
For 40 years. Is anything like that for 40 years? Literally nothing.
I had a thought the other day because I was like, oh my God. How Braunwyn said that someone said they've been married for 20 years. And I was like, oh my God, they're so young. And I sat there and thought, when my husband's 47, he's going to have been married for 20 years. That's insane.
That is actually so crazy.
That's insane. I'm like, I was too young at 27 to get married, but he wasn't. Yeah. And I'm like, that's too young.
27 is when I got with Kyle though. Yeah. Well, was I? Maybe I had just turned 28 actually, but yeah, late 20s.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And actually, even looking back, that does feel a little like, oh, you're a baby.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like you. Yeah, it's scary. And then there's 60 years if you're lucky. Like, oh God.
That's so long.
I'm just kidding. Yay. Love is love.
We do love love though.
We love love.
We do.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Real Housewives of OC.
Let's.
Okay.
Guys, we made it. We made it through Tamra Judge and her malicious crap for another season. Do we think we'll see Tamra Judge next season?
Oh.
Ooh.
This is a hard question. I
Do you want to see Tamra Judge? I don't even know.
I don't. I actually don't think that we will see her, but I think it'll be, she puts out the message that she needs to take care of herself and get some shit sorted. And so, and I think Bravo will give her that opportunity to let her kind of paint the narrative. But I think that together, Bravo and her will sit down and be like, look, the people are not into it. You can put out the statement. You can control the narrative here, but I don't think it's best for you to come back, for you or for the viewers.
That's a really interesting take, because I think you're right. If she's going to go out anyway, that's how she's going to do it.
Yeah. And I think
on her terms,
she's kind of intentionally or not intentionally, I think Tamra has set up the groundwork to make that statement seem like real and authentic, like that it was her choice, with the whole, she's in therapy and she has this autism possible diagnosis. I just think that the bricks have been laid for her to make her exit on her terms.
That's interesting.
What do you think?
It's weird, because I thought they wouldn't ask her back, but now that you're saying, like, it's so in true Tamra fashion that she would say, like, this is about, I have other stuff going on. I can't handle it. There's too much on my plate right now.
My mental health first.
Yeah. She's not going to go out without some sort of, not fight, but like without some, like giving us some sort of reason or excuse. Like, we're not just going to be like, oh, Tamra's off the screen for good. No way.
Yeah.
No way.
And I think, I don't think she'll be back. Shannon has made a statement saying it'll depend on who else is coming back. I don't think Alexis is coming back.
Really?
I don't think so. I don't think that'll even require a statement from either party. I think she'll just, I mean, was she even in the last 2 episodes? I mean, she was in this one, but I don't think she was in the 2 before that.
No, because she wasn't in London.
She wasn't in London. So I don't know that anyone missed her or noticed, really.
No,
like I kind of forgot that Alexis was even on the show until she was randomly planning Jen's engagement party. I thought that was I was like, why are you doing this? That was
so weird. And it's also like, if she's not going to come against Shannon, what's going to be her angle? What's going to be her angle?
If Tamra's not there,
who's going to give a shit about her?
Exactly. And like, what would even her storyline be?
Yeah. Her and Katie being the ones planning Jen's, it was very confusing.
I know Katie and Jen have a real friendship outside the show. They've both been in interviews saying, like, what's, one of the greatest things you've taken away from the show. And they mention each other, which I think is really nice. Yeah. I think Jen is holding that center orange next season, like 100%.
Whoa.
Yeah, I do. Let's, can we mark my words?
Wow, that's a hot take.
She is the fan favorite.
But do you think she's strong enough to? I don't think she can handle the heat if it really comes down to it. I mean, she gave Tamra a run for her money, but to hold the center orange, I don't know.
I think that's a hot she's take. The fan favorite. I mean, people have talked about her most this season. People were so happy. She was on Watch What Happens Live. I think it was Halloween. And Andy Cohen was saying that the messages were just pouring in, like, wow, we are so happy you finally stood up to Tamra.
Wow.
And it seems like she's actually really holding her ground there. And I think the positive feedback that she's received about holding her ground against Tamra is that kind of like motivation and incentive to kind of keep on that track.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we could be here in 9 months with marking your words.
I know. We won't remember.
No. Brock, remember for us?
We will not remember. But that's fine. Maybe now that we keep talking about it, we'll remember.
I like the idea of predicting center fruit and center drinks for future Housewives. Like, that's such a good.
Yeah.
That's actually interesting. Okay. Yeah. What did we think of this episode? I'm so glad that I have to be honest, I'm so glad it's over.
I know this was a really long season. I think I need to fact check how many episodes are typically in each season, but this one felt really long.
I think it's because we only had one topic to talk about. It's not that long. Like Jersey was only 12 or 13 episodes, and that felt so short.
That was also ending.
Yeah. And I think this just felt long because we were talking about the same thing every episode. It's like,
I guess the other thing too is when this season started, we didn't actually have that much Bravo on like shows because it was coming. It was like, when did it start? Like August, maybe. Yeah. So I feel like just so much focus was put on it.
Yeah. And it got us through the end of summer. It got us past Love Island. And it delivered.
God, it feels like a fever dream.
Love Island. I know. Love Island.
But what did I think about this episode? I thought it was fine. I am glad that at the end, like this whole thing with Jen and Ryan and people. Okay. So it's like at first, it sounds like some of them are coming around, specifically Emily and Gina and Shannon are having that conversation with Jen in the opening scene when Jen tells them she's engaged. And Emily makes a comment like, look, he treats her well. Like she's kind of come around on him. And then fast forward to the news breaking, and they obviously all knew that this was going to be an article. Jen said it on Watch What Happens Live. Like they knew that this would all happen about 6 months prior, and then the article came out. And so she had spoke to some of the women and said like this article will be coming out, but I guess the way it read is what triggered some of the women. And like Gina says something in her and I'm really loving Gina this season. But she did say something in her confessional that I really just like did not love. She says something like Jen blew up her life and put her family through a lot. And I just feel like that's really unfair. She had a husband that she could barely have a conversation with. And yet she blew up her like it feels dated to me. Like the woman has to stick around for the kids and has to be miserable in this marriage. And if she's the one that walks away, then she blows it up. And we don't even know the ins and outs of that divorce. Like he has a new partner as well. And I think he cheated on her, by the way.
I thought Jen was the one that cheated.
I'm pretty sure there's I'm going to fact check this. Okay. But I'm pretty sure that he also had an affair. So it's not, I just think it's a little dated thinking.
I like Jen this season. And I think it's like watching one of your friends be in a relationship with someone that you know is not the person for them and they're continuing to make bad decisions. I think if Jen didn't have kids, Gina probably wouldn't have said what she said. But I think like what we talked about in the beginning of the season, Jen just seems to make these, like, it seems like she's making bad choices in men, whether it be her first husband or whether it's now Ryan. And I felt like what Gina was saying came from a place of concern. It's almost like fake to me that Emily and Shannon were like, oh, we're coming around to him. Like, are you, or are you just waiting for the next foot to drop when this comes out and you guys all sit around? Because Emily was the first person at that table with Heather and Tamra to be like, oh, did you see it? Where Tamra gets her FBI hat out. Like it feels fake to me that they're saying that they're coming around to it because I don't believe them.
Yeah, I think too, though, it's like,
let people live their lives.
Well, also, we might not like Ryan, but we haven't seen Ryan treat Jen poorly. And so
that's true.
I don't know true. Like what's going on in his financial and personal business. Like it's not like if he's treating her well, isn't that what really matters? If that's the relationship that we're like discussing.
Yeah.
And it's like, also, I have a friend that I don't totally like. It's not someone I would go for and Ryan is not someone I would go for either. But I see the way he treats my friend and that makes me happy. Do I think it's like maybe forever? I don't know. I don't really, but I am happy that she's happy and he treats her well. And that's really all that matters.
But what if that friend also then that friend's husband was wrapped up in like illegal stuff?
Well, the thing is that he was totally like.
Was he totally vindicated?
Yeah. Yeah. They've even said, yeah. He was not, it was his friend, but he was not involved in that business with his friend.
But
and it's like a guilty by association, I guess.
But Emily was saying like $60 million have gone into his account, and how does he not know about it?
Well, I don't know. Bravo at the end of the episode put that.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's been dropped of everything and that his name.
But I think we need to double check that, because there's there's plenty of people that like his friend could have just been like, I'll take the blame for this, not meaning that he wasn't involved. I mean, she says it herself. They cut back to where he's like, oh, he doesn't have a job. He like lays on the beach and like does weird little things. I just don't think like Ryan is not giving to me like, he's giving shady vibes, whatever the shadiness vibes is. The last season he was cheating. This season it's about the FBI. So I just don't know, like, I think Jen's a great girl, and it's almost like she's making decisions in her life based on men, which you don't want for her.
I don't know. I just think that I think Ryan treats Jen well, and I guess at the end of the day, I just sort of think that's the only thing that matters.
I think she thinks he treats him well, but I think for me or you, we'd be like, that's not good enough for us. Like, I'm not down with you doing illegal shit. I'm not down with you cheating and like letting everyone know about it. Even though I just said that I don't want anyone to know about it. I think he's
there's just like other, yeah, I don't know. There's like a specific example I want to bring up, but I don't.
Why?
So I'm not going, because I don't want to like, I feel like it could be too obvious of what I'm talking about. So I'm just like not going to say anything, but
okay.
It's just, I'll be trying like as vague as I can about it. It's not financial related, but there's other little like red flags that I'm seeing that are not necessarily sleazy with my friend and that make me question it. And I have to just remind myself that like she is happy and that is what matters. And I have to keep all of my other shit to myself and
see. And like, I watched Heather Gay in this episode with Brittany, in this week's episode. And I was like, yes, Heather Gay, I'm so glad you're confronting her and saying what other people are saying about her behind her back instead of like keeping it to yourself. Like, I've gotten in fights with friends who are very close friends of mine because I didn't agree with certain things. And I thought like, hey, is this really like, I think it's not bad to challenge your friends on relationships that they're in. If you are afraid for their safety or afraid for their mental health, or you see your friend being in a toxic relationship, like for example, not the same exact thing. I'm trying to kind of talk more about the Brittany thing, but like when you saw me in a very similar toxic relationship, you were like, I cannot talk to you about this anymore. Like, this is a joke. You're making a fool out of yourself. What are you doing? This needs to stop. And so I think just because he put a ring on her finger doesn't, like, as a friend, you still should talk to your friend like you're supporting her, even if it means you don't love the person she's choosing to spend the rest of her life with.
Yeah. I guess it's just so tricky too at this age, like in our lives, when it's not just like that, the reference that you're making, like that was such a different time in our lives. Whereas I think if that was happening today, I would say less, but I think I knew in my heart of hearts that like, this is not going anywhere.
Longevity. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I knew that you knew it wasn't serious.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
yeah. That's a good point.
In the moment sort
That's
of thing.
A good point.
Whereas,
that's like, a good point.
At this stage in our lives, when we're merging lives with partners, you just sort of got to back up. Like you just can't say that much. It's not, you're not living in that home. So you don't know everything. And our job, I think at a certain point, it's our job as friends to be friends.
That's a good point. I struggle so much with my mouth. No, I do. It's like, no, but I think like you're making good, solid points. There was something about like, I didn't love that Emily was there saying like, oh, I'm on the same page. And then at the same lunch with Tamra and the hat. Like, you pick a side then.
I know. And I'm surprised
either be your friend's friend or don't be your friend. Because I don't like that shit. I don't like that fake
you love
shit.
Emily, so I'm shocked.
I know. And I'm actually surprised that she did that.
Yeah.
But she can get catty at times. Like, she can fall into the pettiness of certain things. Anyhow, there's so much more that happened here, and we've just gone on the rabbit hole.
I know. It's an interesting conversation though when you talk about
it is
relationship that this game. It's not,
and like where to
such a different conversation. You could so easily be like, fuck that guy. It's not that simple anymore.
But then when we talk about what Heather did to Brittany, like in my head, Brittany was being very like immature in her relationship with the Jared. Is that his name, Jared or Aaron? What's his name?
It does. You're right, though. It does. And we'll get to that because I have it written down. There's something different about that one. Like, she even says, I sacrificed my children for a man.
Yes.
And so let's circle back to that when we get to Salt Lake City and get through Real Housewives of OC. Because we'll just get into that then.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this party, right? I mean, I would say that's the bulk of the episode.
Yeah, but like, what? It was dumb.
I mean, there wasn't a ton here. Tamra's is choosing not to drink, which I'm like, this has Eddie written all over it. The memes about that were kind of funny. And even if it's her choice, like, I think that's the choice. I think that is the right
body, her choice. I did not mean that sarcastically. That sounded sarcastic, and I did not mean that sarcastically.
Yeah, Tamra doesn't need to be. She can't be attacking Shannon for having an alcohol problem all season. Yet every time she has a drink, she blows up, and the next morning she has to do the apology tour.
Yeah, and then she says,
"That's enough to stop drinking." Can you imagine if every time you got drunk, you blew up on your friends, and the next morning?
No.
How many times would it take for you to be like, look,
no, like sometimes I say the wrong thing to my friends or like make bad jokes and I have anxiety the next day.
Totally. That anxiety about like, oh my God, did I say too much? Like, I cannot imagine being in Tamra's head the next day.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm working on my ADD, not saying everything that's in my head. And when I'm drinking, it's like impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
So Tamra seems to have that. She's a real vile way of doing it too.
Vicious. And like,
really vicious.
It just seems so over the top. It's like, why? What is your purpose of? I still go back to, this is what I struggle with sometimes on the Housewives. And I've talked about it so many times, but at some point you were best friends with this person. And this is how you treat them. Like, it's all about the show. It's all about the money. It almost makes you feel like none of these friendships are genuine. That's why, like, I see the Gina and the Emily's and I'm like, I believe that one. And you go back to old school Roni where you're like, there were real friendships in that, or they didn't need to produce any of that because they were all wackadoo anyway. And it's just like, I don't know. I feel like in the last 5 years, the production and the social media aspects of a lot of these casts have just gotten in the way of making it
authentic and real out. Yeah, it really has. The younger ones I find are better at doing that. Like the Summer House, the Southern Charm, Vanderpump Rules excluded because that's just a freaking produced mess over there.
Yeah.
But I would say like even Southern Hospitality, they're still kind of young in the game. So they don't really quite know how to produce yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the other thing that happened at this party was this conversation between Katie and Emily about the kids and Heather.
Oh, yeah.
Heather is so bothered by Katie. It's amazing TV. She's so
condescending to everyone.
At finger, and like Katie is just like, get your finger out of my face, Heather Dubrow. Like, you're not going to talk to me like that. I know you've talked to these women like that for the last so many years. I'm not the one. I'm not the one.
It feels like Heather is fighting for screen time or something, or like she's trying to prove a point, or she's like,
even when they did,
she's just trying so hard.
When they do when they like give the updates on the women when it's the last episode, did you see some of the memes online about Heather's?
No.
It was like they were both so insignificant, like, and it just goes to show how little of a storyline she really had this season.
What was her storyline?
Exactly.
No storyline.
Her updates were something about her kid selling a home, and
I
think like maybe something about Terry's nose job.
Oh my God, that's what
it was like. There was like no update because there was nothing that she had even going on, and I was just like, yeah, I guess this basically is.
I could do without her.
Season in a nutshell, yeah. I also can, but I love how bothered she was by Katie. I love that for Katie. I think that's
I love that Katie's just like going to bat with her, because a lot of people have been afraid to go there, and I don't know why. Maybe it's the social suicide you mentioned before, but like, oh well.
I don't think Katie cares about that.
Yeah, no.
And
no.
So going back to this conversation though with the kids, I like Emily's boys 100% like said this. Like there's not a doubt in my mind, but I totally back Emily. I think she should deny it. I think let's make this go away. Let's not bring the kids. But hold on, I know you want to say something. Let me just finish this thought before I forget. Emily says that, wait, how does she say it? I might have wrote it down. She says that her boys, when Katie left, her boys said, "Is Heather mean?" Katie said, "She's mean." I was like, there's just not a chance that 2 7-year-old boys took the time out of their day to question their mom about a woman that they barely know. I just don't think.
Wait. Okay, so after last week, you got in my head about, okay, this didn't happen. And then after this episode where they have Katie at the table with her 7-year-old son and her husband talking about it, and her son says, "Oh, was Heather mean to you again, mommy?"
I do remember that. I just don't think Emily's
like, which one is
2 7-year-old kid. And maybe like there might be a conversation happening I don't doubt that there's a conversation in Katie's house that's happening about Heather. Like they've been head to head.
That's why I'm like, I don't know.
I just don't think that Emily's 2 twin boys are like that curious about the situation. I back Emily for denying it. I think that as a mom,
smart move.
I would do the same thing. Absolutely deny that, and let's get it done with. Like, let's bury this little situation.
So, just in lieu of time, the last thing that I think that is funny that happens at this is when John Jansen comes and Emily and Gina try to go over the wall, and you see Gina's full ass, and Emily tries to hoist her up with her like 8-inch heels. And that is how you end a season, with like those two acting a fool, Emily falling into the bush. The only other thing too that
Gina had such a good season. I've said it 1,000 times, but she really had a great season.
True, because we did talk. They opened this with her and Travis. I liked that scene. I like Gina. I just feel like I would be friends with Gina. The second she came on, I was like, I think it's like the Long Island East Coast thing. And we have to just quickly talk about Shannon and Matt, Katie's husband.
What? What's this? This was so bizarre. If they don't bring this up at the reunion, I'm going to be livid.
So Shannon goes to do a Shannon storm off, which, okay, Shannon, if you're not actually going to leave, just stop storming off and saying, "I'm done. I'm done."
So weird. And then she turns back and is like, "Are you serious right now?" As if he said something so offensive to her.
So Shannon goes to storm off, but only makes it halfway. And Katie's husband is in the doorway, and it looks like he's obviously like avoiding or just like taking a break.
He was like waiting for the bathroom or something, honestly.
Yeah.
He was standing next to a door.
And I thought that he was avoiding like filming, like needed a break. So he's like, if you're done, then leave. And she's like, but I'm setting my boundaries. And he's like, okay, then leave. And she's like, so you think I should leave? And then she like spazzes out.
She says, I'm the strongest woman here or something like that. And I was like, I don't know if the case is not looking good for you.
Ooh, and this man does not know you. And then she goes back to Katie and is like, wait till I tell you what your husband said.
And Katie's like, what?
Okay. If my husband didn't say that to that woman, I'd be like, okay.
But the thing is, he didn't say or do anything offensive.
Oh, he just kind of like barely called her on her shit for someone he barely knows.
Barely. And I think he genuinely thought he was giving like good sound advice. Like,
I think in the beginning he did. And then she like,
he was like, oh.
Shannon attacked him.
Yeah.
We're done. We made it, guys. We made it through OC.
Yeah. The reunion. I'm excited for the reunion.
And how many parts is this going to be? 27 parts?
I hope not.
Yeah. Okay.
2?
What else?
I think 2. Because it was only really
2 things to talk about. Yeah.
I wonder how many I feel like, is Tamra going to be on an apology tour?
No. I think she'll be vicious as all hell.
You do?
I think she's going to come up.
And I think Tamra's going to be like, I was going through something vibes.
Oh, I like this angle that you're making me think about this in a different way, because she sucked all season. And if she's doing that, I feel like she's coming at it from an angle of either wanting to keep her job.
Or the thing with Tamra too, the reason I think that she's going to come back or come to the reunion on one of her apology tours is Tamra plays to the audience.
Yeah.
That is what she's here for. She's not here for the friendship. She's here for the paycheck and for the audience. That's, I think, why she went so hard for Shannon. I think that she probably had frustrations with Shannon, but saw the initial outburst online after Shannon's DUI and was like, oh, here we go. I'm going to go right to the audience. The audience is going to love me. Okay. Audience didn't love me. I get to show up at the reunion and be like, I was going through something. I was not, I've done my homework and I was not handling that correctly.
And that to me, I just don't know how you could be like that as a person. It's kind of sick and dark and demented.
I think that's why she's not going to have any allies other than Heather after this. I think people are really like starting to be like, all right, you know what?
I mean, even Vicky gave up on her, and
she said, "Nah, I can't."
Yeah, and Vicky was kind of in that like goose chase at one point too.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City. Where do we even begin in this? The fact that these men, that Whitney's husband and Lisa's husband, this is what I want to say about that.
Okay.
The only husbands of the house, I only want them at dinner parties, and the only ones I want to see, because then I saw the preview for next week where they're all together, like having opinions and talking. I only want to see them in Jersey. I don't want to see them any other time.
Yeah.
I feel so strongly about that.
Yeah.
And with all due respect to John Barlow, is that his name? What's his name? Like, no, thank you.
Justin pouring all the alcohol out was so petty. I was like, okay. I mean, who is this for? The camera, I guess. Whitney, I can't even stand to. I think when I hear her now, it just is like blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't even know the words she's saying. I just.
Because she's so annoying.
She's really like isn't she?
There's so many things that have changed on this episode that I really am leaning into you giving me the permission to change my mind on Housewives every week, because it's happening.
Great. I love that. I mean, that's, that makes sense. Bravo's tough.
It is. Whitney, I've never like felt any way about. I've never been like, I feel strongly this way or that way. She gives me like, I'm trying to think of who she reminds me of.
She's like got pick-me energy.
Yeah, and just like needs to be involved in everything. But I almost came around to liking Lisa Barlow when she was getting so mad at Whitney and how she was shaking mad. That almost made me like her. Just like to see her.
I think Whitney was really wrong. Like, I don't think Lisa
No, she didn't.
those rumors. And I was listening to Bravo and Cocktails podcast the other day, and they were saying that I guess they have a reliable source who knows the person who did that phone call, that Adam guy on the podcaster, and said that the call was sliced for the show. And so, which like, I guess we know, but to hear it, I guess from a reliable source, it just really, I don't know what the word is, but I feel like it really makes Whitney look terrible and validates Lisa for sure.
Well, it's going to, like, when the real truth comes out, of course, like.
Here's the thing with Whitney. It's like she wants her storyline to be the storyline.
And no one cares that much about
exactly. And so she really has to jewelry. Like try.
Yeah. I this week really struggled with Braunwyn.
Oh, really?
I liked her last week. That conversation she had with her husband, talking about pick me energy, the fact that she goes each week to pick her husband travels 3 to 4 days a week and she picks him up in different costumes was probably the strangest thing I've ever seen.
I'll admit, I still like Broadway, but it is strange.
It made me so uncomfortable. It made me so uncomfortable. Like I was like one-eyeing it. I'm like, this is so cringy. Like, don't you have something else to do? Like, if he's traveling that often, how do you go to the airport to pick him up? I would
once a week. Could you imagine go to the airport once a week?
In different I feel like I just feel like it's giving like try hard energy. And I just thought, like, how many times did Bravo have to go and shoot that B-roll to get you in those stupid costumes? These are like, this is what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's
true. And like she was just doing costume changes, you know?
Yeah, you're right. And I feel like she's like, look how cute and fun I am in my relationship. I also felt weird about the way that her husband talked to her about their daughter.
I think he didn't want it on air.
Interesting.
I think he was like,
interesting.
I think she had to go home and tell him that this was recorded, like this was on film, that I had this conversation with Lisa Barlow. It's about her daughter's like biological father. And I don't know that conversation probably went over that easy. I think he was kind of like, this was one of the fears I had about you filming. And then when I'm sure Bravo pushed for them to have a conversation on film about that subject. And he was probably already like, she probably was like, we have to do this. And I think he was like, I will give you 2 minutes of my time with it. And then I'm shutting it down.
That's what it felt like. But that's an interesting take too, because it felt like he was immediately shutting down. But also, like, if he's raised her, he probably wants to protect the hell out of her. 100%. I don't know. I turned on her this week.
Okay.
I just feel like, I feel like, and then when we got to her house with the Heather of it all,
I didn't love the poop on the floor. We do need to address that.
The poop on the floor was disgusting. The poop on the floor was disgusting. But
why does your dog even think he's allowed or she is allowed to poop inside the house? Like, Raleigh would never think, you know what?
I can do this right here.
Do this. Yeah.
This is a good spot for this.
This is a good spot.
Anywhere in the house.
Even as a puppy, I mean, we were really lucky. Raleigh pooped in the house one time the first day we got him. And he did it behind like 3 plants. He like found his little hiding space, and like that was it. That was the only time he'd ever pooped in our house.
Yeah. Her house, I did like her blue kitchen, but it's just, I don't know.
I like the blue kitchen too, actually. I think the thing that I love about Braunwyn is her read on Heather. I know you're a Heather stan. I think her read on Heather is right, and I don't know that anyone has come for Heather in this way where it's like not screaming. Like, I know Heather and Whitney have had their issues, and Heather and Lisa, and Heather's had issues with people, but the way it's been about something, whereas Braunwyn just has this kind of like overall read on Heather that I really agree with. Like, oh, you kind of come in and stir the pot, or you're doing this game of telephone and then being like, but I didn't do anything. This is totally fine. And I don't know if it's like no one has ever done that, like made that read on Heather before, because she was the out of the gates fan favorite. And so they just never really went there.
Yeah.
But Braunwyn, similar to Katie, these like two young new people that come in with these OGs, they're not so caught up in that they're like, yeah, I'm going to read you for filth.
But I don't think, in my opinion, like I know what Heather's doing. I think anyone who likes Heather knows what her job on the show is, the same way that we know what Tamra's job is, the same way that we know that, like.
Here's the difference, though. I think Tamra knows she's messy. I think Heather is messy and doesn't want to be messy. Like, doesn't want to be like, I'm messy.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I feel like she gets a kick out of it, almost.
I think she thinks she is like
helping the greater good. It's actually interesting
like
you're saying that.
She's coming from a good place.
Well, it's interesting you're saying that now, because like when we were talking earlier about the conversation with her and Brittany, I was like, good for you for being like, hey, Brittany, I don't think this guy's good for you. You need to give it up. This is, I have been in a toxic relationship. I liked that she was calling Brittany on her shit and being like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
that was a moment of Heather I did like.
But that's what I feel like, that's similar to what else we're seeing in the other stuff. Like, in order to be that
this felt less messy and more truly concerning. Like that Heather was truly like, Heather knows that. I didn't know that Brittany doesn't talk to her daughters over this guy. I must have missed
I didn't either. Wait.
Did we miss that earlier in the season or something?
Are you kidding? No, I didn't realize that's what she meant.
Okay, because there was a flashback to them playing tennis. Remember, that was like very early on. It's when we got introduced to Brittany.
Yeah.
And in the flashback, she says, I don't even talk to my girls anymore because of she says, I sacrificed my girls for a man.
Oh, and wow.
That is really, really dark. And I hope Brittany does some soul searching, because that woman is insecure and desperate for male validation in a way that I don't know that we've ever seen on any of the Housewives shows. I mean,
I feel like not even like Lindsay Hubbard.
I was like, Sheena kind of popped into my brain.
Yeah, because Lindsay Hubbard wanted it was a different type.
And Sheena did that whole thing with both Adam. He's my best friend. If the guy is your best friend, you are desperate for validation.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Especially if you're sleeping with him.
Yeah. I feel like this was like Salt Lake City's still bringing it this season. I mean, it's coming. Heather walking out in the middle of the talk, and Braunwyn. I was surprised Braunwyn cried.
I'm a little nervous for next week's episode. It seems like there's a lot of fighting, which I don't do well with. So
what do you do when there's fighting? Do you like?
I scroll my phone. I play Wordle.
Oh my God.
I like find things to like distract me. I'll get on Reddit or I'll get on Depop. Like when the arguing is happening, I turn it down to like volume 5 and like grin and bear it. Like I'm holding on. Like I cannot do it.
Well,
what do you do?
You think? I mean, I like smile.
Do you?
We're so different.
I know.
It's so funny.
I like really like hide under the covers. I start thinking about like, what should I make for dinner? Like what else could I be doing right now? I can't handle it. It's like kind of making me sweat right now.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I feel like one thing, guys, this week our episode's going to be short just because we're recording a day early. Next week, we're actually going to be recording a day late.
I don't even remember. It's on the calendar.
Me neither. It's on our calendar. But don't worry. We'll be giving you all new episodes with everything. Our fall lineup, man. We have so much going on. So wherever you listen to your podcast, listen to us. And we'll be back next week with an all new episode of Bonded by Bravo. You can follow us at Bonded by Bravo Pod on on Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts, and TikTok. And why can't I talk? And TikTok and Instagram at Bonded by Bravo Pod. Thanks, friends. We'll be back then all next week with an all-new episode.